What's up guys, TSJAwesome 628 here, back again with another F1 2020 My Team Career Mode, this time for episode 6 here at Zandvoort. We're just going to go through our activity timeline as we have a little bit of spare time, although we do have a press interview right in the way, as there's always going to try and be something in the way as there was last time. But we decide to go for 3 different activities, all boosting different parts of the team. We're just going to advance through time, and one of our upgrades fails, which is good, but we're going to just choose another sponsor because I should have done that at the start because we've already had enough team acclaim to, as I mentioned in the last episode. But we're going to sign with DSB Optics. They are just the best value sponsor.
Let's talk about your new second driver. How are they settling in?
So I'm just going to put the Jack is loving the new car.
Will your team be going to the Constructors' Championship this season, or just for points?
I think we won't be going to the Constructors' Championship, but I do think that we should get quite a few points and hopefully get a podium this season. I think we're going to aim for 1 podium this season. But I don't know, because I feel like they all say the same thing, so it's hard to choose, like, except for the titles. 2 of them say we get planning on getting plenty of points, we're hoping for plenty of points. So I think, yeah, we're planning on getting plenty of points this season.
Your second driver seems to be getting much more comfortable with their car. Have you been focusing on their development?
Yeah, we have.
Would it be safe to say that in terms of team orders, your career comes first in your team?
Well, there aren't really any team orders, but I guess for the championship we want to do what's best, so our main aim is the championship.
What are your predictions for your team going into this season?
Yeah, I think we're a solid midfield team. I think the aim is to get 1 podium at the end of the season, but for the start of the season we're a solid midfield team. So that's how I describe ourselves.
It's been wonderful to spend some time with you. Best of luck out on track.
We're going to advance further as we get some extra resource points in, and that allows us to repurchase the failed upgrade. So we're just going to do that, and that will come in time for, I'm not sure if it will come in for Spain or for Monaco, but the weather forecast is completely dry over the weekend, so no threat of rain. Obviously China was a pretty wet race for us. We're going to go on to our first lap here in Q1 and into the first corner. Obviously this is a new track for F1 2020, but sadly they won't be able to race around here this year. But we come around the final corner for our first lap, which wasn't okay lap, it wasn't anything special, but just a banker time for a hopeful improvement as we set a 1:10.6. As we head on to our second and final run of the session, we are down to P17 with Jack Aitken in P19, so hopefully both of us can improve on our lap times. We head into turn 1 and we are gaining time. We're about a 10th up, and by the end of the lap we're about 4 tenths up. For some reason we're now P14 rather than the P17 that we were, so I don't really know what's happened there, but Aitken is up in P12 and we improve and we go to P9. I really wasn't sure what happened by the fact that we were P17 when I started the lap and just before I finished the lap we were P14. Must have been some kind of like disqualifying laps glitch, because I know that was a thing in last year's game. I thought they fixed it for this game. But both McLarens out in Q1 is probably the big shock. But we're going to head into Q2 with both of our cars making it through. So hopefully we can get into Q3, because we did it in the last episode in China, albeit they were different circumstances, as it was a wet to dry session. But as we come on through the lap and see what our banker time for Q2 is going to be, it's a 1:10.4, which puts us up in P4 for now, and that is a better banker time than we set in Q1, but I'd have hoped to get quicker. So we're going to go on to our second lap in Q2. We're in P10, so at the moment if it stays like this we're making it through to Q3, but we're going to see if we can improve any further as we head through the first few corners and gain quite a bit of time on the exit, and we were about a tenth up, but going towards the end of the lap we're 6/10 up, and we do need to improve as we've been knocked down to P12. We need to be P10. Our teammate's up in P11, but he's not making it through. We do go up to P6 in the session, and that means we are through to Q3. Quite a few cars opting for the medium tyre to start the race on, which I thought was quite interesting. So maybe some split strategies, as Hamilton, Leclerc and Albon, one from each of the top three teams go on the mediums, and then Bottas, Verstappen and Verstappen will go on the softs. So it'll be good to see which strategy works out best in the race tomorrow. But now we're going to head into Q3, and on our first banker lap. So can we set a better lap than we set in Q1 or Q2 as well? Because that's definitely the aim for, and I don't think we're going to get P6, but because we're not going to be as quick as the cars when they go onto the softs rather than the mediums. But we come round the final corner from our first lap, and it wasn't a good lap, I'll say it now. It was a 1:10.3. I knew there was more time in the car, but as we come round for our second lap, we're heading to turn 1 and gain a bit of time on the exit, which puts us roughly equal with our lap time, and then we gain quite a bit of time going through this section, as again gaining time on the exit. So we come to the end of the lap, we're only about 3.5 tenths up. We gain a bit of time at the final corner, only about 4 tenths up. So we will actually set a slower lap time than we did in Q2, but it will be enough for P9, so that's where we'll be starting the race tomorrow, unless cars ahead have penalties.
Of our top three, Bottas, Hamilton and Sebastian Vettel. Goodbye for now then, but we're really just getting started. Make sure to join us again for Lights Out tomorrow.
So we out-qualify Lance Stroll, but we're behind Ricciardo and Perez, who are probably our rivals for the race. We're going to purchase aero upgrades just before the race, because that will arrive now just before the Monaco Grand Prix.
Let's take a quick look at the grid lineup for today's race. Good job yesterday from Valtteri Bottas. The Finn starts from pole position, and it's Lewis Hamilton alongside. Moving on to the rest of the grid, we have Vettel, Verstappen, Charles Leclerc and Albon, Perez, Ricciardo, Thomas and Lance Stroll, Ocon, Aitken, Kimi Raikkonen and Gasly, Magnussen, Giovinazzi, Carlos Sainz and Roman Grosjean, Fiat, Norris, Russell and Nicholas Latifi.
So this is our strategy for the race. We're going to go for the 2-stop this time because of our tyre wear issues in the first few races. I thought it was best, even though the 2-stop is supposed to be the slower strategy, that I thought it would give us the best chance in this race. So, switching it up, and it's lights out and away we go. And we don't get the best reaction time, but we're going to go into turn 1 here, round the outside of a few cars, and we're up to P7. But Albon's going to try and come back to us on the exit, but we're going to get past him and set our sights on Perez up ahead in P6. Obviously Albon probably had a slower start considering he is starting on those medium tyres, so he will probably be all over the back of us, and he's already going to try and go for a move on us. But we do have the outside line into this corner, so we do have the racing line, and can therefore carry more speed and keep past him. But I don't think we're going to be able to stay ahead of Albon for very long in this race. He should be able to get back past us pretty quickly, but we'll see where Perez is as we close up through that corner on him, Verstappen and Leclerc. It seems like Verstappen and Leclerc on the softs are struggling a bit. I don't know if they're also hitting tyre wear like I used to do. I mean, I'll probably still have to manage my tyres even on the 2-stop, because I really haven't enjoyed this car's tyre handling. But we head through the first few corners again, and we're still on the back of Perez, but not right on the back of him as if to say I'm going to make a move. But we're holding down P7, and I think P7 can be our aim for the race, maybe, because I will probably lose the position to Albon and then maybe gain one on Perez, which I think should be our aim. But there's a yellow flag out already, and we'll see who it is that's retiring. Someone's pulled over, and it is our teammate Jack Aitken, who has had some kind of mechanical issue with our car, and he is out at the end of lap 2, which is not good news for the team. So, especially because one of our sponsor objectives is to complete 75 laps over a race weekend, and with Jack Aitken not finishing, that really isn't going to be achievable. We go on to the next lap then, and there was a yellow flag out, and I'm not really sure what for, because no one retired, as it comes out again here, but I don't really know why it was out. There didn't look like an issue, but we're still in P7, slowly losing time to Perez ahead, and Albon is really pressurising us, with Ricciardo just behind him. And all this battling with Albon is definitely going to cost us more and more time to Perez up ahead. But Albon again is going to go for a move up on us at the end of lap 4, and I really don't think there's much that we're going to be able to do to stop him, and he just breezes straight past us. Going on to lap 5 now, later into the lap, and Ricciardo is now pressurising us. But we do have the DRS, and that does give us enough power to remain competitive on the straight, and we keep the position. One thing I did notice in this race is from that chicane, or just before the final corner, that you can cut it and get away without any warnings or anything, so that is something we will be trying to use during the race. It feels a bit like a few other corners that I know. There's one in Baku and there's one in Abu Dhabi where you can just cut them and gain quite a bit of time, but the game doesn't punish you, so that's something that I always like to look out for, with easy ways to gain time. But it's now the end of lap 8, so it's time for our first pit stop for the first of 2 14-lap medium stints. and hopefully the team can put a good pit stop together. And indeed it is a good pit stop, a 1.9, which is very quick. So we're going to come out in P18 just ahead of Nicholas Latifi and Lando Norris, and we'll see if we can catch the guys ahead and make a few overtakes. So we head on to the end of lap 9 now, and we're seeing whether we can close up to George Russell slowly as we start lap 10. And by the end of lap 10 we have caught up to him, and this should be a pretty simple move on him. We're going to go into overtake. I don't think we even need to use Rich Mix, and with the DRS we just breeze past him. And we're up to P17. Next up is Carlos Sainz, who is in a train with Grosjean and Kvyat. So let's see if we can close up to them. We don't look like we're quite close enough to make a move on Sainz right now, but Perez ahead is coming out the pits, and you can see him now on the exit. He joins in side by side with Kvyat, and everyone seems to get a bit held up by that, so we can go around the outside of Carlos Sainz and up to P15. Grosjean is the next target, and obviously Perez is our aim, considering he was the car just ahead of Albon, who was just ahead of us, so we don't want to allow him to pull away. And we're going to go into the DRS zone here, well in the DRS range of Grosjean, as we're only 3/10 behind him, and it looks like we're not going to be able to make a move here, but as I've already said, you can cut that chicane, and that allows us to go round the outside of Grosjean, and we will be up to P40. But as we head on to the end of lap 12, Danny Kvyat pulls into the pit lane, as does Romain Grosjean behind us, so we didn't need to make the move on him, and we come out ahead of a couple of other cars. We're up to P11 now, and we're right behind Sergio Perez at the end of lap 13, and Giovinazzi comes into the pits, and we are just too far back to make a move on Perez, it seems. So we try and go round the outside, but it doesn't quite work out as we follow him through the next set of corners, trying to find any sort of lines, as we are clearly quicker than him at this stage of the Grand Prix, but that would be expected considering we are on the one stop and he is on, we are on the two stop and he is on the one stop. But he makes a slight mistake coming out of that chicane, and that allows us to pull alongside, and we go round the outside into the final corner, and that is P8 for the taking now. So we're making good progress in this Grand Prix, and Albon is now into the pits, and as you can see with Albon's pace, he's jumped, well, he was already ahead of me and he's jumped Perez as well. And he's well ahead of Gasly, who now pits as well at the end of lap 16. And this was just a stage in the race where I was just running at my own pace, pulling away from Perez, but not making any inroads into Albon. So we just slowly pulled away. As you see, the gap was going up about 0.8 a lap to Perez. So we're in P7 as Vettel is out of the race, and that came as a big shock, as it put us up a position to P6, and then Max Verstappen came in the following lap, putting us up to P5. So we are in decent position right now, but we do still have that one more pit stop to make, and as we come to the end of lap 22, we are in to make that pit stop. So we'll see if the team can give us another 1.9 second pit stop, which they managed to do last time, but it isn't as quick this time, and it's only a 2.5. so we lose about 6/10 based on what we were. We do come out in P11, just behind Max Verstappen, who pitted a couple of laps ago, who must have got stuck behind Kimi Raikkonen here. And we do know how powerful the Ferrari engine is in this game, so that would have been hard for Verstappen to get past Raikkonen with his Honda engine. And we head on to the end of lap 23 and we set a purple final sector, showing that we do have some decent pace in this race. And as we head on to the end of lap 24, we're all over the back of Max Verstappen, and he goes defensive into the final corner, and we're going to try and get a good exit and try and overtake both of them at once if we can, because we know Verstappen's going to try and go for a move. We're not sure how quick he is, but Raikkonen squeezes him to the inside, so we're going to go round the outside of both of them and up into P8. So hopefully we can just pull away from them and hopefully catch up to Stroll and then get the P7 that we wanted. But as we head on to the end of lap 25, Verstappen has also got past Raikkonen, and he is now trying to get back past us, and he is in a quicker car than us, so I don't know why I was expecting to stay ahead of him. But he tries to push his way through, but we hold the outside line and keep our position in P8. But as we head on to the other straight, Verstappen just goes straight back through, and well, we're going to see if he can catch up to Stroll and that we can follow him through, and maybe Verstappen will also get stuck behind Stroll like he did against Raikkonen, and therefore we can take both positions. So as we head to the end of lap 26, we're not setting any personal bests right now, but at the end of lap 27 we are setting personal bests, and we gain 6/10, probably from being in DRS of Verstappen and gaining the extra boost down the straights. But we are slowly closing in on Lance Stroll, and not exactly slowly because we're gaining in almost a second a lap, but Verstappen is already on the back of Lance Stroll, and we're soon hoping to follow suit as we head on to the end of lap 29. We are trying to challenge both of them, but we aren't quite close enough to go for a move, as we do set another purple final sector. But we had a slight look around the outside, but we'll be patient. We do have 6 laps to claim this P7, because Ricciardo does look slightly too far ahead for us to challenge P6. We try and force Verstappen to go defensive, but he does hold the position, and at the end of lap 30 we have lost some time to them, and we're clearly not close enough to go for a move. So we have to go to the end of lap 31 where we are close enough, and Verstappen is going to go to the outside to defend against Stroll, and we're going to try and go up the inside of both of them, and we are now up to P7 on lap 32. So let's see if we can hold this position, because Verstappen also got through and he may be quite quick, but he didn't seem to be as quick as he was earlier in the stint, as we gained over a second on him in the remaining part of that lap, and the gap is now up to 1.9. And for the last few laps I was just managing the gap. It stayed at 1.9 at the end of lap 33, and by the end of lap 34 it was 1.6, so I just decided I should push again slightly on lap 35 to bring the gap up to 2.1 again. And well, at the end of the race the gap is 1.9, Bottas wins it, but we take home P7, which is our new best finish in Formula 1 and the best result for the team yet. Obviously Jack DNFing wasn't great. Carlos Sainz was driver of the day. I'm not sure he didn't even score points, but
further solidifying his lead at the top of the table. After an incredible day of racing, who was your driver of the day, Ant?
That's got to be the Flying Finn. Wait, how many Flying Finns have we had now? Anyway, I'm talking about Bottas this time. Just great raw speed. and a good job in traffic as well.
It's time to check out the constructors' standings. Mercedes continue to extend their lead. Meanwhile, good work from Racing Point this weekend, who pushed themselves further up the order. Well, Ant, an end to another fantastic weekend of racing. Thanks to everyone who joined us, and we'll see you for the next one.
So Bottas wins the Grand Prix from Hamilton and Leclerc, with Leclerc picking up fastest lap, and we take home P7 just ahead of Verstappen, Stroll and Raikkonen, who rounds out the points, with only Vettel and Jack Aitken DNFing from the Grand Prix. That means that we move ahead of Carlos Sainz and into P11 in the championship standings, which Bottas is still in the lead of, and there are still quite a few cars yet to score so far this season, including both Williams, both Haas and both AlphaTauri cars, which means those constructors are still stuck on 0 points. We're hoping to close down the gap to McLaren, but now we have an interview with Claire.
It's safe to say you're smashing everyone's expectations, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's a team sport. Wasn't that? There wasn't really that much contact. Don't really know where she got that from, but in the rivalry breakdown, we are slowly gaining points on Kimi Raikkonen and go into a 16-11 lead. And as a team, we move up to level 6. Sadly, we only completed one of the sponsor goals though, so missed out on a chance to get some extra cash. But that is where I will leave the episode, and I will see you guys next time for the Spanish Grand Prix.